Hey, I found this in the car. Huh? I said, holding up an earring I had found inside the car to my husband, David, who had just returned from work. David stared at the earring for a moment, his face momentarily showing recognition. Oh, maybe my colleague from work dropped it when I gave a ride. Didn't you say you were going golfing with your boss last Sunday? Yeah, I did. Why? The GPS history in the car was set to a resort town in Colorado. I pointed out, to which David looked surprised. Cheating again. I want a divorce. I suddenly declared. David's face showed shock for a moment, then he angrily retorted. What? Fine, but take the girls with you. No child support, though. I was planning to take Marilyn and Karen with me. A part-timer like you can take care of twin daughters? I'll manage. I could let the divorce talk slide if you apologize now. David taunted, laughing as if he was making fun of me. It seemed he thought I was hastily demanding a divorce. I'll never take it back. Fine. Then you agree to my terms of no child support and no division of assets. Yes, that's fine. When I agreed with a strong nod, David smirked. Then take the kids and leave. This apartment is in my name. All right. Just give me time to prepare for the move. I decided to divorce David and began preparing to move with my daughters. On the last day. Don't ever contact me again. Even if you struggle, I won't help you. All right. With a final sarcastic remark, David slammed the door shut. However, he would later frantically call me, unable to handle the situation. My name is Susan Townsend, 36 years old. I live a seemingly ordinary life with my husband, David, 2 years my senior, and their twin middle school daughters, Marilyn and Karen. But I have a secret problem. David's chronic infidelity. Another woman's perfume again. I thought while doing laundry, smelling perfume on David's shirt. I didn't use perfume, and my daughters, still too young, didn't either. The scent indicated someone else was getting intimately close to David. Such incidents occurred several times a month. Hey, David. What's up? I smelled a woman's perfume on your shirt. What? David nervously avoided eye contact. It's just your imagination. But you were out with another woman recently. I had to meet her, I couldn't refuse. I didn't want her to get the wrong idea and turn into a stalker. One dinner to make her give up is a small price. David excused himself, always dodging the accusations. I often gave up, tired of his half-admissions and denials. This wasn't new. David's infidelity had been an issue even before our marriage. David graduated from a prestigious university, worked at a major corporation, tall and handsome. He is a man who naturally attracted a lot of attention. Our relationship started at the workplace where I was employed until our marriage. Back then, I was in sales, and it was David whom I interacted with during client meetings. Initially, our relationship was purely professional, but we hit it off during casual conversations in business deals and soon began seeing each other privately. David was suave in everything he did, and I was utterly smitten, thinking of him as my Prince Charming. However, I wasn't the only woman David was close to. He seemed to have a personality that wanted to impress all women, whether they were his seniors, colleagues, or juniors. This led many women to mistakenly believe they were special to him. With his good looks and amiable nature, David's womanizing was often seen as charming. Once he started dating me, he did settle down a bit. This made the other women who had feelings for him quite jealous. But after we got married, it only took 2 weeks for David's infidelity to resurface. At first, he was sincerely apologetic, promising never to do it again. But once I forgave him, his apologies and remorse gradually faded, replaced by lies and excuses. Don't you ever think about taking the kids out on your days off? I'm tired from work every day. They're in middle school, they are not too young for outings with Dad. Plus, I need my rest on weekends. David would respond with a guilty look. This showed how little he interacted with my daughters. His idea of rest being an affair was the last straw for me. Despite wanting David to change, I had no one to confide in about my troubles. David was estranged from his family. His parents lived in a rural area, and as the eldest son, they wanted him to take over the family farm. David vehemently refused, almost running away from home. Even when he decided to marry me, he wouldn't let me meet his parents or invite them to our wedding. I wished I could discuss David's behavior with his parents, but that wasn't an option. My family, on the other hand, was worried about me and my daughters, Marilyn and Karen. They even suggested I consider divorce. But the girls are in middle school. Their final exams coming up, I was hesitant to upset them with the news of a single-parent household. So I resigned myself to endure, thinking it was my burden to bear. As a result, David became even more brazen. He was prioritizing his clothes over our daughters and putting his allowance before our family's living expenses. I had to use all the money I earned from my part-time job for household expenses. About this month's expenses, my sales weren't great this month. I got a smaller paycheck, sorry. David would say, though I knew from our joint bank account that he was lying. I felt helpless, knowing his salary was probably being spent on his affairs. Yet, I endured for my daughter's sake. Until I reached my breaking point. It was the twins' birthday, a day I valued more than anything. Their birthday fell on a Saturday that year, and I, taking a day off from my part-time job, was excited to prepare. I had studied culinary arts in school. I have got qualifications in cooking and pastry making. Though I ended up in a regular sales job, cooking and baking remained my hobbies. I often tried elaborate recipes, posting them on my blog or uploading cooking videos online. So, I planned to buy a lot of ingredients after work on Friday. David, you're going to be home tomorrow, right? I asked one Friday morning as David sleepily ate his breakfast. Tomorrow? That's Saturday, right? Is something happening? David replied, looking confused. I was flabbergasted. How could he forget his daughter's birthday? Look at the date. Doesn't it ring a bell? I said, pushing the desk calendar toward him. David sleepily rubbed his eyes and stared at the calendar. His finger pointing to the girl's birthday, but still clueless. What was it? I'm working late today, so I can't go out. He said, still not remembering. Oh. Okay then. Huh? I coldly ended the conversation. David seemed puzzled at first, but when I ignored him, he lost interest and left for work. He went straight to work, but he might remember something while he was working. Maybe he's just pretending to forget and thinking of a surprise. I hoped he might remember during the day or was possibly planning a surprise, but David didn't return home even after midnight. On the morning of our daughter's birthday, David returned home early in the morning and lazily watched me as I prepared food in the kitchen. Wow, you're really going all out today. Yeah. Must be nice, having time as a part-time housewife. I'm beat from all the overtime. Don't wake me up. With that, David went to the bedroom. Really the worst. David left for the bedroom without remembering our children's birthday and left a parting sarcastic remark. I noticed a scent of women's perfume coming from him. Wow! This looks delicious. Mom's cooking is always amazing. Hey, can I take a picture and post it on social media? Sure. As I laid the finished dishes on the table, Marilyn and Karen were thrilled. After taking several photos, the three of them sat down to eat. Seemingly used to his absence, the girls didn't bother to call David, even though they knew he was home. I'm sorry, it's just me. Your dad seems tired from work, I said with a wry smile. The girls looked puzzled. Why? We're fine with just Mom. He's never done anything for us anyway. Yeah, why don't you divorce him? I don't get why you're the only one putting up with everything, the girls said while enjoying their meal. I was taken aback by their unexpected words and started to say, but being from a single-parent home, it's not like it's new. He's never come to our sports day or parent-teacher meetings. We've never had any trouble without him, right? Yeah. You always do your best for us, Mom. That's why we want you to be happy. I felt tears welling up in my eyes, touched by my daughter's words. I realized that my endurance was causing them concern. I knew I didn't need anything else as long as I had my lovely daughters. A few weeks later. What's this? I wondered, getting into my car to buy groceries. I spotted something shiny under the passenger seat. Reaching out, I picked it up. Wow! It was clearly a woman's earring. I didn't wear earrings. The last time David had used the car was the previous Sunday when he said he was going golfing for work. On a whim, I checked the car's GPS history. On that Sunday, David hadn't gone to a golf course but to a nearby resort town. That night, I decided to confront David. Hey, I found this in the car. Huh? I said as David returned from work, showing him the earring. David stared at the earring for a moment, his expression momentarily changing as if he recognized it. No, this must be, maybe a colleague dropped it when I gave them a ride. But you said you were going golfing with your boss last Sunday. Oh, yeah, that's right, but... The GPS history was set to a resort town. I said, and David's eyes widened in surprise. Cheating again. I want a divorce. I blurted out. David looked shocked at first, but then angrily retorted. What? Then take the girls with you. No child support, okay? Of course, I'll take Marilyn and Karen. A part-timer like you can support 2 daughters? That is. If you apologize now, I might reconsider the divorce. David said mockingly, laughing. As if he thought I had impulsively brought up divorce. But I had made up my mind when David neglected our children's birthday. I'll never take it back. All right then. So you agree to my terms of no child support and no division of assets, right? Yes, that's fine with me. I nodded firmly, and David smirked triumphantly. Then take the kids and get out of here fast. This apartment is rented in my name, remember? All right. Just give me time to prepare for the move. And so, I decided to divorce David and began preparing to move out with my children. Then, on the last day. Don't ever contact me again. Even if you're struggling, I won't help you. All right. I replied, and David left with a sarcastic remark, slamming the door behind him. A month later. My kids and I were enjoying a very peaceful and happy life. Then, one day. Wow, what's this? After finishing my part-time job, I was shocked to see a barrage of missed calls on my phone. It was all from David. While I was immersed in the crazy incoming call history, I received another call from him and my smartphone began to vibrate. Staring at the screen, indecisive about answering, my phone kept ringing. Realizing he would keep calling until I answered, I reluctantly tapped the call button. Hello? Hey! Susan! Why aren't you answering your phone? David yelled from the other end. I replied coolly. I was at work, and why should I even answer your calls anyway? You should. There's a huge withdrawal from my account. You must have done something. What? David blurted out in a rush. I asked how much was withdrawn, and when David told me, I knew exactly what it was. It's the rent and utilities. Rent and utilities? Forgot the apartment was a rental? No, but it wasn't withdrawn before. That's because it used to come out of my account. You mean I'm paying this much every month? Of course. I was amazed at David's surprise. I had managed our finances with the little money David gave me and my income. All the payments, including rent and utilities, were made from my account. Before the divorce, I changed everything to David's name, including the account for the withdrawals. David had only been aware of his spending on leisure, so the sudden large withdrawal surprised him. However, it makes sense if he thinks about it a little. It was something he could have figured out with a little thought, hardly a reason to call me in such a panic. Got your answer? We're done here, right? Wait! I didn't realize the rent was so high. I don't have much savings. Well, that's what happens when you squander your money on other women. You made your bed. What about you? You can't make much from a part-time job, right? How are you and the kids managing? You can still come back, you know. David said. I sighed, amazed he was still saying things like that. Despite being the one in trouble, David never strayed from his stance that we were at fault and that he would forgive us if I apologized. His pride was sky-high, and it was embarrassingly outdated. Don't worry about us. We're doing just fine without you. What? How come? I don't owe you an explanation. Goodbye. Hey! I hung up as David continued to ramble on the other end. I truly thought he was hopeless. But David hadn't given up yet. The day after the barrage of calls from him, I was leaving my part-time job when I found David waiting outside my workplace. What, are you stalking me now? No. Don't you care at all seeing me like this? When I said this while stepping back a bit, he yelled in anger. David, with a large gauze on his face, bandages wrapped around his arm, and a cast on his leg, looked like someone seriously injured. I think it looks painful, but so what? Don't you have any compassion? I don't want to hear that from a serial cheater. I retorted and hurriedly tried to leave, but David shouted, "Wait." Hey. Reluctantly, not wanting to cause a scene near my workplace, I took David back to my current house. What is this place? What do you mean? It's where we live now. What? I said as David's eyes widened in surprise. This is a luxury condo, isn't it? And it's not even a rental, it's owned, right? Yes. Indeed, I had bought a $2 million luxury condo when I began considering divorce from David. The move was swift as the purchase had already been finalized by the time of our divorce. As we rode the elevator to the top floor, David exclaimed, "Even the top floor!" Don't make such a fuss. You'll disturb the neighbors. I scolded him as we entered the apartment. I'm home. I called out and Marilyn and Karen, already back, greeted them at the door. What? Why are you here? Marilyn, Karen. What's with those faces? The girls, noticing David behind me, made faces of clear displeasure. David was shocked, he seemed hurt. But my children said nothing to him, not about his injuries, and quickly retreated to their room. The hurt you caused them is coming back to haunt you, I said bluntly, to which David could only respond with a guilty silence. Still, as he looked around the apartment, he mumbled, "What's going on here? All this furniture looks so expensive. And what's with this kitchen? It's like a studio." It is a studio. What? You seem to think I'm just a part-time employee who can't make more than $2,000 a month, but actually, I'm earning more than 10 times what you make now. What? How? I published a cookbook. A book? Yes, I had attended culinary school in my student days and was skilled in cooking and baking. It all started with elaborate dishes and cakes I made for my children's birthdays, which went viral when the girls posted them on social media. My blog, initially for personal records, skyrocketed in views, making me a highly popular blogger. I saved the ad revenue, started posting cooking videos on my children's suggestion. I eventually received an offer to publish a cookbook. The ad revenue and royalties allowed me to live in a luxury apartment and raise my 2 children comfortably. I get tired if I stay at home cooking all the time. I continued my thrice-weekly part-time job at the supermarket. At the checkout counter at the supermarket, I check out to observe what other women bought. Based on this, the theme is to create slightly elaborate special occasion dishes using ingredients and seasonings that can be found in any household. It inspired my blog and cooking videos that were hugely popular among homemakers. How long have you been doing this? Since I quit my job when we got married. What's that? Why didn't you tell me? That's like fraud. Fraud? It's the money I earned. I was contributing my earnings to our living expenses. It's unfair that you were saving up all this time. I should get a share too. What? You were too busy spending on other women and not contributing at home. I had to do something. The rent you complained about was paid from that money, so you have no right to complain. David looked frustrated as I stared at him down. Anything else you want to say? Look at me. I'm seriously injured. Don't you care? Not really. Isn't that injury your own doing? Well, about that earring you found. Yes. Turns out, the woman who owns it has a husband. Wow, that's terrible. David explained that when he tried to return the earring, a large man accompanied her and took David to an alley. Upon admitting their affair, the man, revealed as my husband, beat him up for messing with his wife. She came onto me first, but then she lied, saying I forced her. Sounds like karma to me. Don't play the victim. But this has been a wake-up call. Can't we start over? You think I'd say yes? With your earnings, it wouldn't hurt to have me around, right? And think of the kids. Do you want them to feel the stigma of having a single parent? The last person I want to hear that from is you. No way. David's self-centeredness infuriated me. As I firmly refused, David gave up convincing me and headed towards the kids' room. Hey, Marilyn. Karen. It's your dad. You want me around, right? There was no response from the room. They seemed to be completely ignoring him. Damn it. Why not? You see? You're a stranger to us now. Please leave. I said, forcefully ushering David out. Later, after repeated phone calls, ambushes outside my work, and attempts to visit my children while I was out, I consulted the police and obtained a restraining order against David. The police told me that David had initially lied about his injuries to his company, claiming he fell, but the affair partner's husband visiting at his workplace led to police involvement. Unable to face his colleagues, David voluntarily resigned. He is unable to afford his old house's rent, and now lives in a cheap apartment. Meanwhile, my cookbook was reprinted multiple times, and my recipe videos and blog flourished. Recently, incorporating my trendy children's suggestions, we enjoyed working together as a family. I plan to continue enjoying cooking and baking while peacefully watching my children grow.